Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Limited Time Only. I'm your host, Spencer, and I'm joined by my co-host, a silver pro that has the nickname of The Mouth, Danny Catherine.
Both of those statements are accurate.
Yeah.
And I'm much more happy about one of them than the other, but who knows which one.
Being a silver pro is a good thing, Danny. You should be happy about that.
I should be, but being the mouth is like, it's pretty
Pretty great. Well, we're excited to bring you our uncommon set review this week. Just a reminder for everybody, we've switched our grading system to match limited resources. It's just less confusing for a lot of our listeners. We're happy to do it. It's not a problem. Marshall is awesome, and he came up with a great system. So we are matching his grading system exactly. A's are bomb cards. They're cards that, they're the best cards you can be getting in draft and sealed. B's are cards that pull you into a color, so they're going to be some of your better removal spells, things like that. C's are just your filler cards, the cards that you want in your deck that you're pretty happy to have. D's are the cards that you'll kind of play, but you're not very happy about it. And F's are cards that you just are never going to play. You don't want those cards in your deck. And then we also have cards like sideboard cards and build-arounds. Those are going to be separate grades. They don't actually get a grade because they're different. So that's it for the grading system. Don't forget to check out our sponsors at GameGrid. You can check them out at play@gamegrid.com. They are an amazing place to play Magic the Gathering. Danny and I will be playing a Two-Headed Giant pre-release there this coming Saturday at 8 p.m. So come join us at GameGrid as we battle with two heads and try and take it down. We got to defend our 2HG perfect record.
We are undefeated in Two-Headed Giant.
That's true. That's true.
Definitely, it's one of the most skill-intensive formats, so it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You can also check out our other sponsor, at the Mana Pool. Woo. You can go check out some of their awesome Magic content over there at the Mana Pool. They have tons of writers, different videos, stuff like that. They are an amazing place to check out Magic content. So check them out at the Mana Pool. Let's get right into this, though. So this week we have no biggest movers. We have no card of the color of the week. We are going straight into our set review, giving those cards those grades that we just talked about. We're going to go in Wooburg order, which means we go white, blue, black, red, green, and then we'll wrap up with the artifacts and the multicolored cards, then the artifacts. We're going to go in alphabetical order, sticking to Wooburg. So let's get started with this. Danny, why don't you go ahead and read our first uncommon? Which, by the way, we are only doing an uncommon set review. Our common set review will be next week, where we'll give you the top 3 cards in each color at common.
Yes. So I'm trying to find the alphabetical version.
If you go to Mythic Spoiler, you can actually sort by number, and it will fix it for you.
Sort by number.
I'll read the first card while you're doing that.
Okay.
So we have Angel of the God Pharaoh. This card is 4 white. It's a 4/4 Angel. It has flying and cycling for 2. For those following along at home, this is also a great way to follow along if you go to Mythic Spoiler. Let's start with you, Danny. What do you think of this card as our first uncommon?
So a 6 mana 4/4 flyer is generally been like a good limited card. 6 mana is definitely a lot, but flying is always a really powerful effect, and having a 4/4 flyer, it's going to end the game pretty quick if you can stall the ground. And then attaching cycling to that seems like a powerful combination. I assume this card's going to be really good. It might not be a super high pick just because it is kind of expensive, so depending on how fast the format is, it might determine how good this card actually plays out. But it's a powerful card. Putting cycling on your late game card is always great. So
I think this card is quite good compared to. I mean, I would typically just play a 4/4 flyer for 6, and just being able to give it cycling, I think is pretty powerful and something that I would be excited about. So, overall, I think that I'm still leaning to like C+ on this card.
Yeah, I was trying to think of how it compares to the Steward, the 3/3. I mean, I think it's better than that card was. So I think it's a C+. I like it, but it's not super impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, and we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. I'm so sorry, guys. Technical difficulties.
I understand.
All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for your patience. Two things. First of all, I just want to say that I've had a long week at work, even though it's only been 2 days. And we are sponsored by the Mana Base, not the Mana
Yes,
Pool.
we are.
Although the Mana Pool is great. It's Chewy on Twitter, so you can follow Chewy. But also check out the Mana Bases. They are the place that actually sponsors us. And you can check out their sponsor at Fusion Gaming to actually go and pick up some pre-orders for our Devastation. So let's move on to our next uncommon. What do we have, Danny?
Our next uncommon is going to be Desert's Hold. So it's an enchantment aura that costs 2 and a white, and it says enchant creature, and when Desert's Hold enters the battlefield, if you control a desert or there is a desert card in your graveyard, you gain 3 life. Then it's an arrest, so enchanted creature can't attack or block, its activated abilities can't be activated. White has a pretty interesting sub-theme of like pretty good rated cards, so just like that aren't overcosted, but that gain a little bit of life. And initially, you wouldn't think that that would be a really powerful effect. Like normally, life gain isn't what you're worried about in limited very often, but I think it might come up more often than we're used to in this set, just because Afflict and Exert are both mechanics that really push damage through. And so having multiple cards in your deck that gain 2 or 3 life could really make a difference and could help you win a lot of games if you're well set up to go into the late game with it. And so I think this card would be very good just as is, but adding on the 3 life could be a really relevant thing that makes it like pushes it over the edge and makes it a great card.
Yeah, I think this card is really powerful. First of all, even if it didn't have that 3 life, it would probably be one of the better removal spells in the set. Arrest really does take care of the creature in a lot of ways. Like the only thing really left is like if they get a bonus for sacrificing a creature of their own, this allows them to do that, pretty much free. But other than that, I think this is just the kind of card that you want in any of your white decks. I would give this card a B+. I think that you're going to have a desert in play some amount of the time, and that ability will be relevant because of how aggressively scented the mechanics are. I'd give it a B+. I think this card is quite good.
Yeah, I'm at the same spot where it's B+, really premium removal spell. Just a great card.
Yep. What do we have next?
Next up, we have Gideon's Defeat. So it is an instant for 1 white, and it exiles target white creature that's attacking or blocking. If it was a Gideon Planeswalker, you gain 5 life. So the second clause is not going to be relevant almost ever in limited, but it is a really powerful sideboard card. I don't think I would take it as highly because it's just a sideboard card. You can't main deck it ever, but if you're in a matchup where they have a lot of white creatures, especially if their good creatures are white, then bringing it in is going to be really powerful. It's really cheap. You can get a lot of advantage from that. So
I think that this card is just a really powerful way to interact with your opponent. It's gonna kill, like, if they're in let's say that they're in something like white blue, right? That means most of their creatures are probably gonna be white. If they're an aggressively slanted white green deck, a lot of their creatures are gonna be white. So like you oftentimes in the right matchups, this will actually hit more than half of their creatures, depending on how their deck is slanted. I think the card's really powerful. It's a sideboard card that I'm really, really happy to have. So then the next uncommon that we have is Saving Grace, if I'm not mistaken. This card has Flash. It is an enchantment aura, and enchant a creature you control, so it can't target your opponent's creature. And when it enters the battlefield, all damage that would be dealt to this would be dealt this turn to you, and permanents you control is dealt to enchanted creature instead, and the creature gets +0/+3.
This is a weird one.
This is the foggiest of weird fogs.
Yeah. So one mode of it is 2 mana. You like kill your guy instead of taking lethal damage. Another mode is to try to like get into complicated blocks or attacks, and you can kind of blow out some of their trades by just making everything trade with one of your guys. Or it can just kind of be a value trade where you flash it onto something that's going to trade, but instead it just eats it. It's a weird card. Limited is strange, where you don't have very much room for situational cards like this, because you just need creatures and removal spells as like the base that forms your deck. And so this is kind of like a combat trick, but doesn't push damage. It's just like a defensive combat trick. And so I don't know. It's interesting.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this card closer to Fog or closer to Safe Passage?
What was Safe Passage?
It's 2 and a white for an instant to prevent all damage to you and creatures you control. Until end of turn.
Okay, yeah. I think it's more like Safe Passage.
Well, that card's really good.
Okay.
In limited, that card was not really good, but it was definitely playable.
Spots, yeah.
You would definitely play that card. I think this card also is a little bit closer to Safe Passage than it is to Fog. It's cheaper. If you put it on the right thing, oftentimes you can set up a blowout. I think that because of blowout potential, I would give this card a C-, but it could just be a Fog and it could be terrible.
Yeah. I do think it's one of those cards that the first few weeks, it's going to be really, really good. People are going to have no idea that this card exists or what it can do, and you're going to get lots of really interesting combats that benefit you from it. I would probably go like C- or C. I think.
Oh, I wouldn't go as high as C, but you do like Fog more than I do.
Yeah, I think it could. Like, it has some potential for. It just depends on how it plays out. If you get a big board, it could be really, really good. So.
Okay. What do we have next?
Next up, we have Steward of Solidarity. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2 human warrior, and then it has tap and exert to create a 1/1 warrior token with vigilance. So it's a 2/2 for 2 that once it kind of gets brick walled, you can start pumping out some 1/1 warriors.
What is this card?
It seems really good. I think I like it a lot.
Why do I get to make a bunch of dudes with my guy once he becomes irrelevant?
Yeah, no, he seems really, really good. Like, and white has a lot of ways to pay off. Like Trial of Solidarity, man, that card is going to be so good if you open it in pack 3 or get it past you. That card is great.
I'm not excited. So wait, does Vizier, the Vizier that flickers, does it flicker only attacking or blocking? Right? I can't.
If it attacked or blocked. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
We're safe. We're safe from crazy 1/1 shenanigans with this card. Yeah, I think this card's great. I mean, 2-drop, 2/2 for 2 is actually a little below rate based on the last set. I think it'll hold up for this set. But
what are you talking about?
In the last set, all of them had exert. All of the 2-drops were 3/3 flyers and 3/3 tramples and 3/2 death touches.
True.
Like,
that's true.
Yeah.
I think this will hold up. This seems pretty good to me.
No, I think it'll definitely be great. And you can even do it at instant speed. That's like the crazy thing.
I actually I think this card is actually quite good. I think that being able to get an advantage once your creature no longer mattered in play is pretty huge upside. Mm-hmm. I'm tempted to give this card a pretty high grade for a 2/2 for 2. I would consider giving this card a B-.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna give it. I think it's a really solid card. That it's no Gustwalker, I don't think, but it's very good.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah, we have Scourge Champion, which is 2 and a white for a 2/3 human wizard. And when it enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to its power. And then it has Eternalize for 2 white and discard a card. That's I think the one of is that the only card that has that for the eternalized cost? I think.
Oh, no, there's a couple of things that have different internalized costs. So most of them are going to be 4 and then 2 of the color, but some of them are not.
Yeah, this one just having to discard a card in addition is a unique cost to add onto there, but it does let you eternalize it on curve, which is kind of unique if you trade it off right away. This is one of those cards that follows the white theme of gaining life incidentally, because a 3-mana 2/3 with Eternalize would be a pretty reasonable card by itself, and then it also just gains you 2 and then 4 life as you use it.
I think this card is not great.
Yeah,
so like
the discarded card
here's
is
the
a
thing.
big cost for Eternalize.
Well, it depends, right? Because if you're discarding a card that's not a 4-mana 4/4 that gains you 4 life, then you're actually you're just upgrading your card. So that doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
The question is how good is the front side of this? Because I actually think the back side is quite good.
Yeah. In the last set, the front side was like unplayable. Like Exert did such weird things where just a 3-mana 2/3 didn't accomplish anything because everyone had 3-mana 5/4s, and Exert did a lot of unique things on trying to evaluate power and toughness. But I don't know how much that'll hold up if we only have one set of it. So this card, it seems like it'll be reasonable.
I think this card is good enough. I would give this card like a C-, but I could see it actually being way better than that. If the format like is kind of grindy and stuff like that, being able to just upgrade the worst card in your hand into a 4/4 for 4, that's the thing is you're not really discarding a card, right? Because you're getting the 4/4.
You're switching it out.
Right.
And, yeah, that makes sense. And if that card has Eternalize, you're switching it out and being able
that's pretty powerful then.
Yeah. And then
or not even just you also look at it if it has what's the ability called? The old one?
Embalm. Yeah.
Embalm, thank you.
Yep. A lot of the cards also trigger on deserts in play or in your graveyard. So if you have an extra land that happens to be a desert, this will also you can use that to trigger all of those also.
Next up, we have Unconventional Tactics. This card is 2 and a white. Oh, did you give search?
Yeah, I think I'm on C- also. I agree with that.
Unconventional Tactics is next. It's 2 and a white. It's a sorcery. It is unconventional because it gives target crit +3/+3 and flying. Whenever a zombie enters the battlefield under control, you may pay a white. If you do, return Unconventional Tactics to your hand.
This one is unique. I don't know how many times you have to give something +3/+3 and flying to
sorcery speed
to kill someone. So yeah.
Is it 3? Do you have to buy this back with zombies twice? The thing is,
yeah, it's really unique.
It's like you might think that it's like I'm paying white to draw a card, but like, are you?
Yeah. So giving something +3/+3 and flying, if you're aggressive and they don't have flyers, you're getting in 5-6 damage, right? So that's like sometimes Mighty Leap for lethal is a real thing, right? That's a mode of Mighty Leap.
It's a mode of Mighty Leap, but we're talking about modes here. This card only has one mode. It's only that mode.
I know.
I think this card is a D-. I think that you only want it in very specific decks, and it's not even that great in those decks. Like, I just don't... Yeah. Like, how many times do I have to do this in order for this to be playable? Like, here, think about it this way.
Zombie
here's the thing, is you're talking about giving your creature +3/+3 and flying for the win, right? So then it's just the first time. Well, I don't want this card in my deck if it's the only time I want to cast it is the first time. And then also, how many times do I have to cast it before I want the card, right? Well, every time I cast this card and buy it back, I'm not adding to my board, which makes it harder and harder for that to be the lethal swing. I just think the card contradicts itself.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think the name is very fitting. It seems like the tactics that you would take to make this work are pretty unconventional. It doesn't make sense to me either. I don't see how. Yeah, I think D-, F. I don't see myself playing that.
You want to give it an F?
No, it's a D minus. It's a mode of Mighty Leap, I guess. That's fine.
I think it will make your deck begrudgingly sometimes. And then some people are going to try it in like very heavy zombie decks and be like, man, I just wish this was another zombie that I had in play. That's just my opinion.
You're going to die to it occasionally. So it definitely has the mode of Mighty Leap that kills you. So that's a card, I guess.
Yeah. Chat is saying it does have nice art though, so.
That art is really interesting.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's a little unconventional. Vizier of the True is next. It's 3 and a white for a 3/2. It's a creature human cleric. When it enters the battle, you may exert it as it attacks. And whenever you exert a creature, tap target creature and opponent controls. These effects are always good, like basically all the time. Was it you or Drew who disagreed with me the last time that we had a 3/2 that did something similar to this? And I was like, no, this card will be good. And I don't remember which one of you was. They were like, no, it'll be bad. And it was great. It was great.
So,
they're always great. This card is totally playable.
Did Drew dare to say the Elite Scale Guard was bad? No,
I don't know.
Do you remember that one? That one was the best version of these that I had seen, I think. So this one.
But here's the thing: is like, if you have a Gustwalker and this, you get to tap 2 things. 2 things, Danny.
I understand.
I actually don't think that you can win combat if they have multiple exert creatures in this in play.
Well, no, obviously. So the trick is the white-red deck going to be as good? So this is only playable if you're the aggressor. If you're on defense, this card is really bad because
obviously.
Yeah, obviously, right? So if how well is white set up to be the aggressor? And in the last set, it was very well set up. And so as long as this set holds true to that, then this card will be good. Which I think it will. And there are multiple 2-drops that have exert. Even the one that we talked about, the Steward of Solidarity, you can.
Yeah, if I just make a 1/1.
Yeah, you can instant speed tap their attacker. You could tap their attacker so that you don't get attacked. And there's multiple creatures that have exert on abilities that aren't attacking. So
there's a 3/1. Oketra's Avenger has exert, and when it attacks, you prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to it. Oh man, I'm just saying. I think.
Yeah, I think
white is set up to be pretty aggressive. I think that the times where you have, and there's so many commons with exert in the other set.
There are. There's a lot.
Commons. I think that when you're out in a board stall or ahead, this card just takes over the game. And I actually am gonna give it a B. I think this card I think that while I don't know if I'm gonna snap pick this off very often, pack one, pick one, it will be a top 3 pick after I know my colors a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to go with a B-. I think white in this set having the sub-theme of life gain kind of scares me of how aggressive this card how aggressive the color is going to be. So I'll stick with a B-. I definitely think it'll be good. Just kind of hedging a little bit.
Sure.
So, yeah.
All right, let's go on to our first blue card. What do we have?
First up, we have Eternal of Harsh Truths. So it is a 1/3 zombie cleric for 2 and a blue. And then it has a flick 2, so this is the first time that we've seen a flick. So whenever the creature becomes blocked, the defending player loses 2 life, or whatever the life is. And then if Eternal of Truths attacks and isn't blocked, you drop
Harsh Truths.
Eternal of Harsh Truths.
I got a harsh truth for people. This card is sweet!
You think it's sweet?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
What? Okay,
yes,
explain to me. How's it sweet?
All right. So first of all, if you're on the play, this card is either going to deal a bunch of damage or draw you a bunch of cards. On the draw,
okay.
What? Are you serious? They work opposite of each other.
Okay. You're on the play. You play this guy. Okay. And then I play a 3/2.
Where are you getting a 3/2?
On my turn. I'm just casting a 3/2.
What creature have you seen in this set that stopped this? Have you looked at the set?
Yeah. I mean, the last set had plenty of 3/2s. This one also does.
Come on. On
Three
turn,
power, 3 drops.
I'm on the play. On turn 3, you're gonna play a 3-power creature.
I would hope. Can I not do that? I mean, I haven't
There's
looked at it
not
that
very
thoroughly.
many.
All right.
There's not very many, especially that have 2 toughness. In this set, I will count them right now. That one does not have 3 power. That one's a 3/3 for 3 in white. So there's our first one at uncommon. It's white-red.
Okay. There was a white one, the camel. There's a camel.
The camel is 3/2. There you go. That's a common. And then the white. So they're all in white. And then there's the white 3/1. And I don't believe black.
There's really not very many. Why are there not very many?
Oh, there's a 3/3 in black, but it can't block unless you control another.
Okay. There's a green uncommon. That is a 3/2.
Okay. So there's not very...
You're kind of right, though. There's the 3/3 for 3.
There's 3/3 for 3 in green. So there's just not a lot.
There's a few, but you're definitely right about most of them being 2/3s.
Yeah, and or they just have 1 toughness.
Yeah,
because there's a couple
where
3/1.
you would trade and get 2 damage in. So.
Yes.
So green looks like it has multiples. So green definitely is
green and white have some, but white,
but red
white
and black do not really.
Yeah. So overall.
That's interesting. I just would have assumed that there would be more 3/2s. That's just a very common stat to have on 3. But yeah, and then I could definitely see it. And then if you combine it with
if you put a cartouche on this thing, boom!
Oh my goodness! Thank goodness that's not going to be happening all the time. But that is some sweet action going on.
Cartouches are still commons. There will be more cartouches than trials. So if I go and like play this, follow it up with like
cartouche knowledge on this. You draw 2 cards that turn.
White cartouche on this thing, dude. 2/4 first striker. Get out of my way.
The blue one is the best, right? Like blue one, you draw a card, you attack, then you draw another card, and you're not even exerting him. That's the best part. I think of Watchful Naga. That's my first comparison that I think of.
Oh, this is way better than Watchful Naga.
Yeah, it actually seems kind of sweet.
Yeah. All of that said, all of that conversation, I don't know. It's like a C.
Because it's so understated. 3 mana 1/3. We're like, yeah, this is so sick. Okay, C-.
That's what I think it is. I think it's like a C minus, but it's sweet.
Yeah, it's sweet. But man, does blue get these situational cards? Oh my god. Ugh.
What do you give it?
I'll give it a C-. Its stats are so bad. But
okay. What's up next?
Next up, we have Imaginary Threats. It is 2 blue for an instant, and it has cycling for 2. And what it does is creatures target opponent controls attack this turn if able, and then during that player's next untap step, creatures he or she controls don't untap. So you make all of their creatures attack into you, and then none of their creatures untap.
Okay, so this is like a bad sleep with cycling. Let's be clear. Sleep was broken.
What was sleep?
So sleep is blue 2, tap all of your opponent's creatures, they don't untap.
Sorcery or instant?
Sorcery.
Okay, this one is instant, but you're making them all attack you where most of them would want to attack you anyway. So you're spending.
Well, that's not true because magic definitely favors the defender. So it's a lot easier to get what you want out of this card than your opponent, right?
Yes.
I think this card is playable.
So having cycling definitely makes it more playable. Like Floodwaters wasn't a particularly good card, and that was playable because cycling was a huge part of it. So this card could definitely work, and it gets a lot better depending on how many kind of weird creatures there are that don't really want to attack. I don't know how common that's going to be. I do think that this card gets a lot better if you have a lot of low power, high toughness creatures, just because then you can kind of pick off their cheap stuff and block what you need to also. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I think it's probably like a D+.
That's kind of where I would put it. I think that actually, I don't know that I would. Maybe this card is actually insane.
I don't understand how it would be. I'm trying to think of why it would
So
be.
like, okay, so like, let's say you're a blue-green deck. You're playing against a red aggressive deck. Okay, I got all of these 1/3 flyers that draw me 1/3 guys that draw me
Oh my
cards.
goodness.
I got all these 3/3s for 3, and these, the typical green beef, right?
Yeah.
My opponent's got like a bunch of 2/1s and 2/2s, and like maybe like 1/4/3, right? Like the typical red stuff.
Yeah.
And like instead of go ahead.
The problem with this scenario is that if you can't cast this on turn 4, really, right? Like you haven't had enough time to develop your board into a position that you're gonna
Why
be
does that matter?
advantaged.
This is not a turn 4 play. This is like a turn 6 play when
Trying to
you're
like lock up the game.
yeah, when they're just bashing with like that one big guy that you're having trouble with, and you're like, no, bash with everything.
And they don't untap.
Yeah, take out your 2 guys. Your big guy doesn't untap. Attack you. I win. So like I get a 2 for 1.
You get 2 attack steps in, right? So
Yeah.
you tap them all, you attack, you go, it's your turn, then you attack. Yeah. You getting 2 full attack steps in for lethal is an interesting.
Yeah. I think this card will be good enough. And I think that cycling, like when it's not good, you're like, hey, let's get into something better.
It could very easily be better than I think it is.
I'm actually going to give this card a B-. I think that it could actually just be one of the better cards in the set. I'm not quite sure, but
so weird. Yeah, these are the times where it's really hard. Not having a reference point is.
Well, you have sleep.
Well, but I don't have that as a personal reference point.
Oh, well, sleep is like one of the most. Sleep is one of the most broken limited cards at Uncommon, like literally ever.
Okay.
Like
interesting.
They don't print it anymore. Like
no, that makes sense. Yeah, it could be good. And putting cycling on it definitely makes it a lot better. Okay, I'll come up. I'll give it a C-. I just don't know.
C-?
It's a very uneducated C-, but
okay.
I'm
gonna give it a B-.
Okay.
For reference.
I want it to be great.
Reference, LSV gave it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
So
it's probably better than I think.
So it's like he gave it right in between where we did.
Okay. Sounds great.
Cool. Up next we have Jace's Defeat. This card is 1 in a blue. It's an instant. Counter target's blue spell if it was a Jace Planeswalker spell, scry 2. Cyborg card.
Yeah, cyborg card. And not that great of one.
Well, yeah, it is, because like
it's not as good as the white one that we talked about, though, right?
Well, yeah, but counter spells are worse than removal and limited, right? But like
exactly.
on the play, this is an Essence Scatter, which is like a playable card in those matchups.
So the problem that I see with this is that if you're playing against a blue deck, if you're playing blue and playing against blue, then you're not going to be countering their creatures very often, right? Like we kind of talked about how most of their high impact cards are going to be spells. I mean, that's not always true, but in general, that's kind of how it is.
Right, but like if you're like playing against a Sphinx, like this, you're gonna bring this in and be like really happy that you have a counterspell for that Sphinx.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I definitely think it's a good sideboard card, definitely. But in the past, blue has been a weaker color in limited for many sets in a row, so I don't think it's as important to have like a sideboard card that's anti-blue if you're already blue.
Yeah,
I just don't think it'll be as good as the other.
Yeah, but that was because of the common creatures, right? And this set changes the common creatures in blue quite a bit.
Yeah, the Windrake's great. The Windrake that turns on all of your situational attackers.
There's a 2/3 flash for 4, which has been historically pretty good too. So
it has that 2/3 flash for 4.
Yeah, with flying.
Oh, with flying, yeah,
it's
fine.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Sphinxes, let's move on to our next one, which is
our next one is Ominous Sphinx. This is a 3 blue for a 4/4 flyer. And whenever you cycle or discard a card, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end of turn. I think this card is great.
Snap it off.
Man, this is... So, 5 mana 4/4 flyer is great. That is about as good of a rate as you get for flyers. And if you're in blue, you're definitely going to have a lot of cycling and discarding. And so being able to interact with their attackers just by cycling the cards that you wanted to hold up mana for anyways, it's gonna.
I literally
so
don't.
Good. So good.
I literally don't know how to beat this card. Like, if this card is in play and your opponent has cyclers in their deck, you're in trouble.
Or like Seeker of the.
Like you just attack, and they're like, okay, and they're like, try and crack back, and you're like, okay, cycle a card, like GG, brah.
Yeah.
Like, GG's, brah. And
it's
like
really,
not only
really
that, but like you hold the ground on the other side, you cycle a card, and you can just set up blocks however you want. Because like they can't kill your guys.
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be one of the better uncommons.
I literally think this is really a bomb uncommon A. I think this card is insane.
So I think I'm going to give it an A-. I don't think it's like on the same power level as like bombs that instantly win the game. Because so when you play this,
right, but it's not
it's
A+.
Great.
It's
no,
just
no, no. It's like maybe it's really good though. It's really sweet. It does like a nice Archfiend impression.
Would you take this over Doomblade?
That's interesting. So Doomblade is really good.
Yes, it is.
But so is this. This is like a win condition / Doomblade sometimes.
I would take this over Doomblade.
Yeah. It's like yeah. I think it's like it does a really close Archfiend impression, right? Like it's a 5 mana big flyer that if you have cyclers, it makes their combats horrible, right?
Yeah, I think the card's very, very much the real deal. Yeah. Like I could see the argument for A-.
Yeah. I think there'll be. It depends on. So in the past set, the format was really, really fast, and you got punished for playing slow cards sometimes, right? And so sometimes on turn 5, you'll be at a big disadvantage just playing a 4/4. And so that's like the only drawback that I see is that it's like a little understated if you're on the defensive when you play it. But then if you untap with it, you're golden. You're good. So yeah, I think it's an A-. I think it's really good. It's really, really strong.
All right, what do we have next?
Next up is a unique one. So it's Riddle Form. It is 1 and a blue for an enchantment. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may have Riddle Form become a 3/3 Sphinx creature with flying in addition to its other types until end of turn. And then you also can pay 2 and a blue to scry 1.
I think this is a build around. I think that you can only play this reasonably in like a blue-red spells deck.
Yeah, you want to be attacking with this, not blocking with it. Is for the majority of the time. I think its strength is in attacking.
Well, early you can be blocking with it, but like you want to close you want it to be able to close the game out. So like you have to have like maybe 10 spells in your deck in order for this to be good.
Yeah, it needs to be on almost every turn for you to want to play it, right? So that's a lot of spells. I think it might be too many. I think it's definitely built around, and I don't think it's going to work out very often.
But it will be sweet when it does.
Yeah. I mean, but the problem is that if you're casting all these spells, they need to be removal spells, or you're going to fall too far behind on board. And so you need to you'd have to just have a ton of removal spells. And that's just really hard to come by, I think. So I'm going to give it we don't. Yeah, we don't give it a grade. I know.
We don't have to give it a grade.
I just don't think it's going to pay off very often. I don't think it's.
Yeah, I think that like you literally have to have like 10, 11 spells, 9 spells in your deck.
Yeah.
Maybe not even 9's enough. Maybe it's like 11. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think it's like 11.
It's like a lot of spells.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Sinuous Striker. It is 2 and a blue for a 2/2. You can pay a blue to give it +1/-1 until end of turn, and it has Eternalize for 3 blue, and you have to discard a card. This one is way worse than the
white one. So much worse.
So like the creature you get, the 4/4 with that ability is like actually insane. But It's not
I mean,
more playing.
kind
It
of.
just go
So
both ways.
yeah, that's the problem. It still just trades with any 4-power guy.
Yeah.
I
I
don't like
would
this card at all, I don't think.
I would be sad to put this card in my deck. I would put it in my deck, but I think it's like a C minus.
I think I'm gonna give it a D plus. I think it's like really bad.
I
You'll play it, but the discarded card is better in blue than white.
You have to remember that it does like on the front side it also trades with 3 toughness creatures, right? So like
If you
your
pay a
trade
mana.
well, so
I mean, but it's not free, right? You have to.
right,
You're
but
playing
like
off.
you can't sit here and look at upside and like feel like it's not free. Like
No, I
it's-
know. It's just your 3-drop, like especially because we talked about how this set is a lot of 2/3s. So having a 2/2 in this set that is a lot weaker, right?
Yeah.
If the set was filled with 3/2s, this card would be a lot better. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like this at like C minus.
okay, yeah, I think I'll. Yeah, I think I'll stick with D plus. I just don't. I don't think. I think it's too weak at the beginning. That it'll
Sure.
be too slow.
Supreme Will is next. It's 2 and a blue. It's an instant. You can counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put them into your hand. Put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order.
You choose one of those two. The
Yeah,
counter
sorry,
spell.
I said
or
choose
the-
one.
Okay, cool.
I said choose one. Didn't I? Did I not?
At this point I'm not sure, but I think this card is good. I think having counter spells in limited it's like a high risk, and so that's why you generally don't play very many of them. Essence Scatter is one of the exceptions, just because it comes down on turn 2, and so if you're on the play or draw, you can counter like a relevant creature. But the 3-mana counter spells always are tougher to play. I remember like Spell Shrivel was like decent, and there were some other cards that are fine, but the problem is that if your opponents are good, they can play around them and push the advantage that they have on the board, and then.
Well, how do you play around? So hold on. So I agree with that, but I actually think this one doesn't work, right? Because
Exactly.
when
No,
you
I
play
think
around
this
a
one's
counter
better.
spell is that you don't play anything and say go and
Exactly.
time walk them. But if
Yeah.
you don't play anything, you get time walked because they're like, okay,
Yeah.
all impulse.
Yeah, I actually think this one is going to be pretty solid because of that. Like, I think this is a really powerful choose card. I think both modes are really relevant, especially in draft. You have like bomb rares, and you want to find them, and being able to impulse is a really powerful effect because you can get a lot closer. You go through a 10th of your deck. In limited, that is like 4 cards is a lot.
Yeah, I think this card is like pretty close to a C plus,
Yeah.
but C. I'm gonna go C.
I think I like C plus. Like, I think being able to counter their bombs and also being able to find yours is really powerful. So
I think I probably would never cut it, so maybe it's a little bit better than a C.
yeah,
I'm gonna stick with C.
yeah. I think that I'm very happy with the first one, but the second one you don't necessarily want all the time. So it's kind of a weird balance. I think it's good, but it's not a bomb or anything. It's just a role player. Cool.
Yeah.
Up next, we have Vizier of the Anointed. So it is 3 and a blue for a 2/4. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with Eternalize or Embalm, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. And then whenever you activate an Eternalize or Embalm ability, you draw a card.
I think this card's good.
I really think it is too. So 4 mana 2/4 is a little behind rate, but it's playable. Like, it's a relevant body, right?
I'm so love having you on this podcast
Why?
and like hearing you talk. So like when you listen back to like old episodes of like limited resources, like they did an episode entirely about whether like 2/4s were just great for 4 mana with John Laux. Like
No.
like the thing that you think is like so shows how new you are to Magic. Also, I think it's below rate, but like you say it so matter of factly, like it's always been true, and it's just funny to listen to.
Oh no, that's like I'm supposed to get more for my mana. That's not what my mana buys anymore. I played a flashback of like 7th edition or 8th edition or something. I was like, what is this garbage? I opened the packs and I was like, these cards all suck. I had like 3 Raised Deads in my deck because I had one like Mahatma Jin or something. And I was like, all right, that's my only good card in my whole deck. I'm just going to keep playing it over and over again because it dies to 12 Doomblades. It's so weird.
Yeah. So I think that this card's pretty good. I think that if you have like just a couple of cards with Eternalize, it really goes up in value. Once you get that first one in play, right? Like you're just playing this 4/4 and drawing a card. It seems really powerful, and you get to like pick the one, right? So like
yeah, no,
it has like
really
a sweet
cool
ability or
yeah, you can go get, and also combos with Embalm. So if you get one of like, there's like the Sphinx from the last set that has Embalm. Like there's some really good targets that you can get. So I think this card's great. It really pushes. It's like a lot of card advantage on card. A lot of it.
All of that being said, I think it's pretty slow and still ends up to be about a C for me.
I think I'd give it a C+. I think that if you can build up a board that can like take a little hit from playing a 4 mana 2/4, I think it can run away with the game pretty easily. So I like it.
Let's go into our first black card.
All right, first up we have a Cursed Horde, which is 3 and a black for a 3/3 zombie. And then you can pay 1 and a black to give target attacking zombie indestructible until end of turn, including itself. So it can target itself. It's a 4 mana 3/3s. I always have like a little problem with, but this is a unique ability. It's pretty good. I'm trying to get, I guess, I don't know. The zombie deck is weird. Is it going to be black-white again? Are there others zombie decks that
I think there are some red ones. There's a couple red zombies.
I know the black-white uncommon is a
so
zombie,
here's the thing.
The zombie lord
again. Is you don't technically have to activate this, right? Like there's a real threat of activation of being able to activate. And then if you have like multiple zombies in your deck, right, then there will be some turns where you're like, okay, attack with like all my guys. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's still just going to be fine. These types of cards normally have been decent. Sometimes you'll get into a game where the ability is like super relevant and really, really impactful, but most of the time you're kind of playing a overcosted card.
You're not playing an overcosted card. Like,
I mean, 4 mana 3/3.
Hold on. Let's say that it didn't say zombie. Like, it's just a 4 mana 3/3. It's a 4 mana 3/3 that you can pay 2. That when it is attacking, you can make it indestructible for 2 mana. Would you put that card in your deck?
4 mana 3/3. Then when it attacks, you can pay 2 to give it indestructible. I don't like. So my problem is that if you're on the back foot, that ability doesn't do anything, and then you'd rather have a bigger creature. And then if you're being aggressive, you don't really want to spin. I mean, I guess spinning your mana to give it indestructible is pretty good, but
yeah, it's the only time it's bad is when you're behind, right? Yeah. But like, you're envisioning this world where you're behind all the time. The thing is like a 4 mana 3/3 is something that you just end up playing in your deck sometimes, and this one's way better than that.
That's true. It definitely it's definitely a relevant upside.
I just think I'm going to give this card a C, and I actually think it's closer to a C+ than a C-.
Interesting. I envision bad situations sometimes for attacking. Like I envision this just running into the
opposite of a best case scenario. I think you are like, they're gonna have a 4/4 every game, and it's like
yeah, that's my thought. I'm like, I'm gonna have this, and I'm gonna have a 4/4, and they're gonna just like play a 3/4.
So here's the thing: is it like
Hyena Pack just hard counters this card.
The problem is like either this format is full of eternalized creatures that are 4/4s coming into play, and then this card is bad, or the format's aggressive and this card is great, right? Yeah, so like it just depends on the format, and I think that I'm going to lean towards like after what I've seen so far, the format's still a little bit aggressive, and because of that, I think that this card is pretty close to a C+, but I'm gonna stick with a C.
I'm fine with a C. I think it's fine. This card's fine.
What's up next?
Next up, we have Bane Whip Punisher. So it's 2 and a black for a 2/2 human warrior. And when it enters the battlefield, you may put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. And then you can pay black, sacrifice it to destroy target creature that has a -1/-1 counter on it. So this card's good. It's kind of weird.
But it's only a 2/2 for 2, Danny, for 3
No, but
mana.
it's a removal spell. It's a removal spell. So it's like a 4 mana kill anything.
This card's really, really good.
Yeah.
So it can come down and just like pick something off, or you can shrink something and then kill it later. I think, and like the thing is you don't have to tap this, right? So if you have like black 2, like it literally just kills any creature for that mana cost. I think this card is really good. I actually think this card is like a B, maybe in a B plus. Like I actually think this card is just great.
Yeah, I think I would give it. So just as a removal spell, 4 mana kill a creature at sorcery. I mean, it's kind of like
you
sorcery.
Give that
speed.
a B minus, right?
Yeah. So I think it's a B.
It's not at sorcery speed.
It kind of is in that the creature has to be in play already, right?
So they're gonna use a spell to try and target your creature that you can pay 1 black to sacrifice, and you get a 2 for 1.
No, just like if I want to, like if they cast their creature, I can't cast my removal spell on the turn that they cast. Like it has to be in play to kill it. That's why I'm kind of saying sorcery, but
I get what you're saying.
It is an instant. Yeah.
I think that's like a kind of a balance. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like it's probably gonna play out like a B plus. I think it's gonna play out really, really well.
I think it's gonna play out much stronger than it looks, and it looks like a B.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with B plus. Because I think a lot of times what you're going to do is pick off something small, and then later in the game, value kill something else also.
Yes.
Like, I think that's going to come up a lot, and it's going to be really, really powerful.
Yep. What's up next?
Next up, we have Doomfall. So it's 2 and a black for a sorcery, and you choose one of 2 modes. The first is target opponent exiles a creature he or she controls. And the second is target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it and exile that card.
People have been like picking this card pretty highly in like some of those like cracker packs that I've seen. Okay,
People think
so
it's
like,
going to be good and constructed, like standard playable, like really good in standard.
Yeah, I think this card is like not good.
So I think the first mode in limited is way worse than it would be in standard. I think that's part of why it's like when a card looks good in standard. I assume it's going to be good in limited, but sometimes it doesn't play out like that. So target opponent exiles a creature he or she controls is a really, really bad mode for this card. Like in limited, they're just going to play a 2-drop, and you're going to pay 3 mana to kill their 2-drop, or kill their 1. If you're playing against white, it's horrible. You're just going to kill a 1/1, and then 3 mana to look at their hand and choose an online card from it. That's not that great. It's overcosted for what that ability is, and you don't like you get into top deck war so often limited that type of card is a real liability. So I would probably give this like a D plus. Like I don't think this card's good, but that's strange that people like it.
I think that people see 2 effects that like they've played before basically, and they're like, well, I've played this. Like, so I would play this, but I think the honest truth is you shouldn't play this.
Yeah. So Pick the Brain. How was Pick the Brain? It was not very good, right? I saw people play it occasionally. So maybe this card will be better in sealed. I could see it being a way better sealed card than draft. Just because there's more bombs that are going to cost more mana, and so the second mode is going to be a lot better. You might be able to. Now the first mode is just always bad, especially costing 3. It just makes it so much worse. Yeah, I think I
actually think this card. I think that this card is like a D minus. It is like the dregs that you put in your deck.
I'll give it like a D plus, just because sometimes it'll do what you want. Sometimes. It's not very good.
I understand. Like, the problem is that it costs 3. So if this effect costs 2, right, then both sides are still pretty bad. But like so you get to pick one.
Yeah, both sides are like kind of playable at 2 mana, but not at all playable at 3 mana, which is a weird. So tacking the mana,
which is why it costs 3 because you get both. But like I think that it actually pushes it out of playability or pretty close to.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Okay, cool. What's up next?
Up next, we have Liliana's Defeat. So it's black to destroy target black creature or black planeswalker. And if that permanent was a Liliana planeswalker, her controller loses 3 life. I think this is the best of the sideboard cards of the color haters. Like, black to destroy a creature is really strong. I think it's slightly better than the white one. Maybe white will be a more, like, a stronger color. So like in the last set, white was the best color by quite a bit. So the white anti-white card would be really, really powerful. But I think this one, face value, is a better card than that.
I think that like just being able to destroy a creature for 1 mana just makes it a decent sideboard card.
Yeah.
Just efficiently costed, so.
Yeah, good card. Next up, we have Merciless Eternal, 2 and a black for a 2/2 zombie cleric that has afflict 2, and then you can pay 2 and a black to discard a card to give it +2/+2 until end of turn.
I think the threat of activation is actually really real on this card.
Yeah, I actually like this card. I especially like that they are especially priced in not blocking. So if they block to try to trade, they're going to take the 2 damage anyway, and then you can just kill their guy by discarding a card. And so I think it's just going to be a 3 mana 2/2 that, as long as you're not having to block, if you get to attack with this, then it's just going to get 2 damage in every turn until they like play a 5/5. So I like it. I think it's a C+. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think I like this card a little bit more than you. I think that being able to, like, they actually just can't block it. It's like almost just a 2/2 unblockable creature.
Mm-hmm.
I guess all things said, it's probably still just like a C+. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, you can like it more than me and rate it the same. That's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Cool.
What's up next?
Up next, we have Razaketh's Right. So 3 black for a sorcery. You search your library for a card and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. But it has cycling for a black. This is really interesting. So this is one of the ones that I was most intrigued by. So in general, Diabolic Tutor is really bad. But until it's good, until you're in the late game and you draw like your tutor and you just go get whatever your best card in your deck is. And then it's really powerful to have your best card in your hand. And then adding cycling onto that effect seems like it might make it actively good as opposed to far too slow. How good this card is definitely scales with how good your best bomb is. So if you have like Sandworm Convergence in your deck, then I feel like this would be a really unique and powerful effect. So
I think that, do I want to pay 5 mana for a tutor effect unless like my bomb is actually insane? And like the thing is that's when the tutors are playable, but they're still not that great.
No,
like they have like, I don't know. I think
adding cycling onto this is like, that's a big game. So people played Scarab Feast for just like literally just cycling for black, right? That was a card, like I did that multiple times when I had a bunch of cycling payoff cards. And so in that deck, adding this card, it would be really good if you have like Drakehaven or an Archfiend. And so you have these huge payoffs that you can go tutor up. That's going to be like this, like the abnormal mode for this card. Normally you're just going to cycle it and you're going to try to trigger whatever effects you have, right? But if it's in the late game and you're just kind of in a top deck war and you get to go tutor up your bomb and you have 2 copies of your Sandworm Convergence or 2 copies of your Archfiend now, I think it's a pretty low cost considering they tacked on cycling for 1 mana, not even cycling for 2. I think it'll be at least playable. Not great, but I think it's better than these cards have been in the past. Like a C-. Maybe a C.
I think that I would give this card like a D+. I think that it's just good enough to play in your deck, but it's like slightly below where I want most of my cards to be.
Yeah. You definitely want, if you have more cycling payoffs, this card gets a lot better. If you're priced into cycling it every time, that definitely is not what you want to be having to do. But yep. I think I'll go with C-. But up next, we have Torment of Scarabs. It's 3 and a black for an enchantment curse. Oh, it's like the first curse I've read. This is sweet. So it enchants a player, and then at the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player loses 3 life unless he or she sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. Okay, 1 second. So on their upkeep, so it triggers, you play it, and it's going to trigger pretty soon, like right away, almost. That player, they either sacrifice a non-land permanent, discard a card, or lose 3 life, and they get to choose. I think this card is horrible, like really bad.
I think this card is the bad version of one of my favorite cards, which is the
Cruel Reality.
No. What's her name? The 4/2 from Innistrad that when it dies, she attached herself to them, and they lost the life.
Oh, a Cursed Witch.
Yeah.
Oh, Cursed Witch was sick. That card was so good. Oh,
I gave that card like a B+ in our set review, and Drew was like, "You are crazy. This card is not playable." And I was like, "Dude, this card is gonna be like one of the best cards in the set." And boom, was I right. This is so not good. That.
No, this card sucks.
I think it's bad. I think that there will be decks that will play this card that kind of want it, right? So like if you're like a hyper aggressive deck and you can top out at this, that's actually okay.
No,
right?
This card is so bad. They get to choose any of the 3. So if
they can't pick a land.
What?
They can't pick a land.
No, but they can sacrifice a token. They can discard a card. So them being able to choose to like just discard some random card instead, and then the next, I guess. I mean,
I don't think it's good. I think it's like a D-.
You need like 7 turns of this thing, right? Like, yeah.
Like so here's how a game typically plays out, right? When you're the aggressive deck, you start out fast, you go attack, and then the game stalls for 2 or 3 turns, right? If this is in play while the game is stalling, that's actually good for you because it prevents it from like it lets it keep stalling unless they have something huge. I don't think it's great. I think people actually will put it in the wrong style of decks, or I'm just wrong and it's an F. But I'm gonna give it a D-.
Okay, I'll give it a D-. I guess if this is in,
you think it's an F?
No, if it's in play for 10 turns, it'll do something. But yeah, no, this card sucks. Okay. Next up, we have Vile Manifestation. So it's 1 and a black for a 0/4 horror that has cycling, and then it's cycling for 2. And then it gets +1/+0 for each card with cycling in your graveyard. This one's interesting. So a 2-mana 0/4, if you're in a cycling deck anyway, is not horrible. Like, it just kind of blocks something. And then it gets especially weird if you hold up mana, and then at instant speed you can just turn it into a 2/4 and kill something that attacks into it. I think this card is actively going to be really good. Yeah.
I think personally that this card might be constructed playable.
Interesting. That's really, really good then. Do you think it's just going to be a 2-mana like 7/4? That's kind of sick, actually. That's an interesting part of this card.
This card like is a real way to slow down the game and construct it for like a cycling deck. Till it draws a payoff card, and then like it also has cycling for matchups where like an 0/4 doesn't matter. So it pays off with your cycling cards or digs you to them. However, in limited, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I actually think this card's going to be good in limited. I think it's going to often just play out as like so on turn 2, it's going to be an 0/4, and then on turn 3, you can either keep it as an 0/4 and just play something else, but then late game, could be like a 2-mana 4/4.
Could be a Goyf.
Yeah, it could be a Goyf.
Could be a Goyf.
It could be a boat.
It could be anything. I think the card is definitely playable.
I think it's in the C range. I'm trying to decide which C I think it is.
I think it's close to like a C-.
Okay.
Maybe a D.
See, I think I'm gonna give it a C. obviously you need a lot of cycle. Like they have to have specifically cycling, right? Yeah. Maybe there's just not enough cyclers. Yeah, maybe a C. I'll give it a C minus. There might not just be enough cyclers, but it's a sweet card though. It's really cool. All right, that is it with black. So we move on to red. So the first red card we have is a Braid. For 1 in a red, you get an instant that you get to choose to deal 3 damage to target creature or destroy an artifact. This card's just great. It's like a B+, I think. Really, really, really strong removal spell. Instant speed, can deal with most anything, and then also just you get to destroy an artifact sometimes if they have a relevant artifact, which I know.
I think this actually is likely the best removal in the set.
So my only problem with removal like this is that when you're like facing down their bomb, it doesn't kill it. I always say this, right? Is so like the benefit of unconditional removal spell is when they play a 6/6, your Braid doesn't kill a 6/6. So having a final reward kills a 6/6. So like this card is definitely more efficient and better, but it doesn't kill everything. So I don't like to give it like the highest grade. So
what do you give it?
A B+. Like I think it's really, really good, but
I think that like you literally have to be Doomblade or like Path to Exile to get an A.
From me. Yeah.
No, from anyone. Like
for a removal spell to get an A.
Yeah.
I think A is almost always reserved for like bomb rares. Just because
not even then. Would you give a Lightning Bolt an A?
Ooh, Lightning Bolt's really good.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Lightning Bolt, Doomblade, Path to Exile.
Another card that I considered giving an A was like Murder. The only problem with that one is that it's like 2 mana intensive. But
Sure.
like that type of card that's the type of removal spell that I would give an A. Like just kill anything, instant speed.
All right, what's up next?
Next up we have Burning Fist Minotaur. So it's 1 in a red for a 2/1 first strike, and you can pay 1 in a red, discard a card, and it gets +2/+0 until end of turn.
This card is so good.
Oh yeah, no, that seems really
This is probably
you can fireball people.
Best red creatures.
Yeah, it's super sweet.
How do you block it or not block it? Which one do you pick?
Yeah. No, it's great.
What do you do?
It's so
I actually
cool.
don't know. Like you're presented this attacks into like a very cluttered board. What do? You just like literally throw every single creature in front of it?
I think you put crappy creatures in front of it. I think that's the plan. You put like 1/4s in front of it, and you just trade off your 1/4 for a random card in their hand. That's like the ideal scenario. I like how
you just have 1/4. Like
yeah,
you
ideal
put a
scenario is you just draw Dune Beetle, and you're like, joke's on you. Now you have to trade off your random card in your hand with my Dune Beetle and 2 mana. Like that's the only good scenario that I can come up with. I mean, I guess the one drawback is that if you like have a 2/3 and you block this, they kind of have to take off most of their turn to trade their random card in their hand with your 2/3, right? Like paying the 2 mana is definitely.
But what if they just like use a pump spell?
Yeah, pump spells are really good on him, like Brute Strength.
Yeah, like what if they're like discard a card? Like I'm gonna shade this thing, and you're gonna just take damage, and your guy's gonna die.
Yeah, I think this card's just great. I'm like kind of trying to envision situations where it's not amazing.
I would give this card like a B-.
Yeah, it's one of the. I think I would give it. Yeah, B- is probably right.
I mean, it's still a 2/1, right?
Yeah, it's still a 2/1 for 2. Yeah, B- probably correct, but it's a sweet card though. It's really good.
What's up next?
Next up, we have Chandra's Defeat. So it's red for an instant, and it deals 5 damage to target red creature or red planeswalker. If that permanent is a red Chandra planeswalker, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. Wait, maybe this one's better than the black one. It's an instant. This one's sweet. And you like to have cheap removal spells against red decks. Like this card might be really good, actually. Like yeah. I like the sideboard card a lot. clearly a sideboard card, but I think this one's really, really powerful.
Yeah. Do I like this one as much as like I don't know. I guess you're just gonna run into more like red creatures than you are like okay, sure. I like this one better than the blue one.
Yeah.
I probably like it better than the black one. Okay.
It's good. I like that one a lot, actually. Cool. Next up, we have Fervent Paincaster. 2 and a red for a 3/1 human wizard, and it can tap to deal damage to target player, and it can tap Exert, and it deals 1 damage to target creature. This card is great. It's so good. I mean, it has 1 toughness, so it's weak to like some of the black things that give -1/-1 counters, but besides that, it's like really cool. So if the path is clear, you can just attack for 3. If it's not, you get in 1 damage. And then if they ever play an X1, you get to kill it.
Yeah, I think this card is good. I think that it's like the perfect power level. Pingers, here's the thing about pingers, is they are secretly anthem effects a lot of the time.
Exactly.
Where like you're like like nothing can block anything because like everything will trade up.
Add in first strike into the mix. Like if you have red first strike creatures, it's even a bigger pain. I think this card's gonna be good.
Yeah, I do too. I think the card is pretty powerful and probably just the right power level for this card anyway. Like pingers always turned into like bombs, and it was like, this is so annoying. I think this card is like a B- rather than a B, which is probably the right power level for a card like this at Uncommon.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a B-. I think it's really strong. It's really good if you get the white guy that exerts. So the Vizier of the True, and you get to ping their guys on their turn and make them tap. Like, I think the instant speed taps with that guy are gonna be sweet. Lots of cool plays with it. Next up we have Inferno Jet. This one's interesting. So it's 5 and a red, so 6 mana for a sorcery that deals 6 damage to target opponent, but it has cycling for 2. But
6 is so many.
It's so much damage. It's a lot of damage. It's like almost a third of their life.
I have drafted many mono red aggro decks with multiple lava axes and like 3-0 drafts. This is like kind of a dream card for me. It's like, wait a second, I can just play lava axe.
And it has cycling?
It has cycling for some reason. I think this card is pretty good. I actually think this might move it all the way to a C. It went from like a D+ all the way up to a C in my mind.
I wonder if this card might just be better than that. I guess like the cycling part of it, if you... So the problem is if
that's
it's like...
not free in an aggressive deck, that's the problem. So like,
yeah, it does absolutely nothing in
let's say that you're playing this mono red aggressive deck, right? Like, when do you want to cycle this?
Yeah,
when you were
that's
behind,
that's the
right?
problem, right?
And so like, it's while the cycling is awesome that it has it, it's also still not that great. It's better than not having it. But still
it's
think
definitely weird. Yeah, it's definitely weird.
I still think it moves it all the way up for me to like a C though, like which is pretty insane for Lava Axe.
I feel like I'm gonna die to this card a lot.
I'm so excited to kill people with this.
A disproportionate amount of times to, like it's an uncommon, but I feel like it's just gonna be the lethal damage so many times. Yeah, I think I'll give it a C-, but I think it's really good. Sweet. Next up we have Magmaroth, 3 and a red for a 5/5 elemental. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you put a -1/-1 counter on it. But whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you remove a -1/-1 counter from it. This one's strange.
Well, like
I think it's good.
I do too. I don't think you have to have that many. Like,
I mean, you don't. If it turns into a 3/3, you're not super happy. But
well, like here's the thing: is like in a spell heavy deck, it's like pretty good. So like, if I'm like casting a spell, removing a counter from this, attacking with a 3/3 in the air with my blue guy, and this, and my Enigma Drake got bigger, like imagine that curve. You're like two mana Riddle Form or whatever it's called, Enigma Drake, this spell.
Yep.
Like
That's what I just thought of. I guess you don't really have to cast that many spells before they just die to a 4-mana 5/5, right? So it's blocking as a 5/5, and then if you just cast a spell for 3
unsummon your
turns in a row.
4/4,
Yeah.
unsummon your 3/3, like just
Yeah.
bash. It's only good in one deck. Because of that, I think that it gets something like a C- to me, rather than because like you have to be playing spells. Like, that's just
you
it's
need
just
lots
fact.
of spells. Not as many as some of the other cards, but you do need.
Right, it's not like a build around like the other one was, right? Like because you don't have to have like 10, you could have like 6.
Yep. But yeah, I think it's like I think I'll give it like a C+. I think it's pretty decent. I think it might go in more decks than you think. I think you could just play this in red white, and like
C-.
I think you could just play it in red white, and then like just play any pump spell, and then you just get a 4-mana 5/5 in red white, and then they're dead anyway. But
what's up next?
Next up, we have Manticore Eternal. So it's 3 red for a 5/4 zombie Manticore. It has Afflict 3, and then it attacks each combat if able. Afflict 3 is a lot of damage. So this...
That's much.
Yeah, this will get in 3 damage even if they chump block, which makes like you just can't chump block it.
Having attacks each turn if able on a card that's a 5/4 seems so weird. It's like, when wasn't I attacking with my 5/4 with Afflict 3?
Yeah. I mean, it'll come up, but not very often.
Will it?
Yeah, only like technically, not actually. Yeah, this card seems really strong. I mean, 5 mana for a 5/4 isn't like insane, but it's really good. And then Afflict 3 just seems... Afflict is a really unique mechanic. It's always fun trying to figure out how good the new mechanics are and how they play out and stuff. But pretty much just makes blocking horrible. Like, you trade with it and you just take 3 damage even though you traded.
Yeah, like the only red deck that doesn't want this card is like some black-red, like all removal spell control deck. But even then, is that true? Does it still not want it? Like,
no, it would want it because then they can't block it because all their stuff.
Yeah, I
like,
think
it's not like
actually pretty good. I think it actually might be like a B-. Like you're always gonna want to attack with this card. They can't actually like what's gonna really happen is they're gonna double block it to kill it and still take 3.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a C. Attack each turn of Fable is like a really big liability sometimes, so
I don't think it is with this one, but
yeah, not as big. Yeah,
I'll give it a B-.
Cool. Next up, we have Sand Strangler. So it's 3 in a red for a 3/3 beast, and when it enters the battlefield, if you control a desert or there's a desert card in your graveyard, you may have it deal 3 damage to target creature.
Ship it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna first pick this card, pick a couple of deserts, and like.
I don't think the desert thing is gonna be as a given though, right? So there's 1 common cycle,
and an uncommon cycle,
and then there's an uncommon cycle,
and then there's even more,
and then there's 1.
There's another common.
Yeah, there's like a couple commons, couple rares, another common. Yeah, maybe there's just enough. I mean, so luckily nowadays in Limited, a lot of cards are playable, and you can spare some picks on taking lands. In the past, that wasn't as reasonable of a strategy.
What are you talking about? Well, I don't know what you're saying right now. So taking lands is actually mono upside in draft, and it always has been, because it lets you avoid, like, it makes more of your picks in your deck, in your pool, playable than you would have if you hadn't been taking lands.
Interesting. I heard that.
So like, think of it this way. So in Limited, you typically have 27 spots of the picks that you take, right? 23. When you're taking 23. I'm sorry. I flipped the last number.
Yeah.
When you take lands that are playable in your deck, you actually have more of your picks that end up making your deck, making it so like a larger number of your picks get to be played.
Yes. So what I was referring to is sometimes cards sucked, and so you couldn't take lands highly because you needed to get the good cards that were actually in the pack, because the difference in power level was so high. But now there's lots of like filler level cards that you can get that you're not normally wanting for playables.
I think I'm a little confused as to what you're saying, because even then, like,
I don't know. That's what I've been told. That
okay,
yeah.
well, all right.
I mean,
Either
I think
way,
you can
I
take
think this card
deserts
is,
at a
like,
pretty low cost.
I think this card might be like a B- to a B+. I think this card's actually really good.
Yeah. I don't know how easy it's going to be to get a desert, but I would give this a B-, I think.
Okay. What if you always have a desert? What would you give it?
A-?
Like an A?
Yeah, A-.
Okay. I think I'm gonna give it a B+. I think when you take this, you will say, I need a desert in my deck. You will play off-color deserts because that's how good this card is.
Well, the problem is that you need... How many deserts do you need to make sure that this works on turn 4? Like 3?
What's the worst case scenario? You have a 3/3?
For 4? Which, that's not... It's not horrible, but it's not great. Like, you're very unhappy when that happens.
You're very unhappy? Like, you've played those cards in your deck, Danny. Like, you're not happy, but like...
You've never seen me cast a 4-mana 3/3. I've never done it.
Lies. Lies slander.
Nope. Spencer, until you have video evidence of me casting a 4-mana 3/3 in draft, it never happened. Unless it had upside.
I think this is like... I think this card is super first pickable. I think that you will take this over so many things. And you'll just be like, I'm just going to go grab some deserts later, brah.
I think you're going to be very unhappy when you open this in pack 3 and you're red and you have no deserts. Or pack 2, I guess. And you have like almost no deserts.
Pack 3.
But you can't open it in pack 3.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Ooh, that actually...
Yeah, it helps it
even more interesting.
Right? Yeah.
All right.
That's interesting. Cool.
All right, what's up next?
Next up, we are moving into green. So we have Devotee of Strength. It is 2 and a green for a 3/2 Naga Wizard. And it has... You can pay 4 and a green to give target creature +2/+2 until end of turn. This card's kind of sweet. I mean, 5 mana is a lot to pay for that. But I've always liked 3-mana 3/2s more than 3-mana 2/3s. I don't know why. I just kind of... They're very similar, but I've liked them a lot more. So I like the stats, and then that ability, once you get to turn 5, is really relevant. Like, you can attack with even just this creature or another one, and just threaten...
Why is it target creature you control? That's like such an insane ability.
Yeah, it's really good. It is expensive. 5 mana is a lot. It's a full turn. You're not doing anything else if you use this, but...
I feel like we've had this card before that was like... What was it?
I mean, there was like a 2/2 that you paid that much to turn it into a 6/6, and it was really good, right? Is that the one that you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Right? What was that? It was a while ago, but I know what you're talking about. You paid, I think it was 6 mana to turn it into a 6/6 trample or something.
Yeah. I think this card... I think this card's the real deal, dude.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I think it's like in the B range. I think it's a B...
It's got to be B- C+ range.
Yeah, I think it's B-.
I think that you're very happy with this. And also, people have been complaining that like we don't have mana abilities that are mana sinks, right? Yep. This is like a really powerful mana sink. It's like, hey, I drew a land. Like, you'll probably never get to double activate, which kind of sucks.
But you can play this in a 2-drop or play this in a 3-drop eventually.
Right.
Like, it happens.
Right. Yep.
5 mana is a lot, so, but it's a sweet ability.
I give this card a C+, pretty close to a B-.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a B-. I think it'll play out really nice, but
cool.
Sweet. Next up, we have Dune Diviner, and it is 2 and a green for a 2/3 Naga Cleric, and you can pay 1, tap an untapped desert you control, you gain 1 life. Okay, so you pay 2 mana in essence, but one of it has to be a desert mana.
This card's bad.
So you gain a life.
This card's like a D-. Like
it's a 3-mana 2/3. How bad can it be, right?
That's how bad it is. That's what it is. The card has no other text.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But is a 3-mana 2/3 a D-?
It's pretty close.
Like isn't that a D+? Isn't that a D+?
Okay, I'll give it a D.
Okay.
So like the card is just a 2-mana 2/3.
It's a mana sequence.
Here's the thing: is I'm usually not happy about these kind of cards. Like I would rather have my clunky cards be like 3 mana 3/2s rather than 3 mana 2/3s. Because when I'm playing this green deck, I actually would much rather be the beatdown than the defender. In black, I might rather have the 2/3, right? In blue, I would much rather have the 2/3. But in green, I wouldn't. And because of that, I'm going to downgrade it to a D.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a D. But when you lose to someone gaining 4 life a turn, no, that's not going to happen.
They're going to pay 8 mana to gain 4 life.
But you're never going to kill him. You're never going to kill him.
Chances in that game.
Nice.
What's up next?
All right. Next up, we have Hope Tender. It is 1 and a green for a 2/2. And you can pay 1, tap it to untap target land, or pay 1, tap it, exert it to untap 2 target lands. So it is a 2 mana 2/2.
Hold on.
Yes.
I think this card is constructor playable.
What?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so in my Hour of Promise deck, I can exert this. Like, let's say I'm not drawing
untap both shrines,
and I can untap 2 shrines.
Okay, sure.
Hold on. But like I don't have to draw the Hour of Promise in that case, right? Like if I just naturally draw the shrine, even the first shrine, right? Even the first shrine, this actually generates a mana. Just by tapping. You don't actually have to exert it.
Okay. Sure. Once you get up to 7 lands in play, right?
Yeah, I'm actually just trolling you.
Yeah. What? I mean, yeah, that's
just
horrible.
Kidding.
It's so bad. I mean, I guess if you only want to use it once, you can. It is a mana dork.
I'm literally teasing you.
Yeah, I actually think Unlimited it's pretty fine though. Like,
it's
a 2 mana 2/2, and then you can also play. It lets you jump 1 up the curve, right? So you can. It's a mana dork that then is exerted, but that's not that big of a deal.
So yeah, it doesn't really matter. So like, if you're going to exert this, you're going to gain a huge advantage in limited. Yeah. Otherwise, you just have a 2/2, which like you'd already play. Because I think this card's pretty good, I would actually give it like a C+. I think it's going to be one of the better green cards.
Yeah, I think a C+ is good. Like, I think it'll be pretty solid. I can definitely see me playing this on turn 2, attacking, and then on turn 3, like playing, or on turn 4, playing a 5-drop or something. Like just using it, cashing it in once to jump the curve. So
I got you pretty good there, dude.
Yeah, I mean.
Trying to figure out
I was like, wait. I mean, I guess technically you can do it. How many ancient tombs are in standard? There's shrine.
Next up is Gideons Defeat. It's 2 and a green for a sorcery. Destroy target forest, green enchantment, or green planeswalker. If that was a Nissa, you draw a card. I think this is not even a sideboard card. I actually don't think you would sideboard this in.
This is just enough, I think.
Yeah, next card, though.
Maybe on the play, you can get their forest.
Shut up. Next up is Overcome. It's 3 green for a sorcery. Creatures you control get +2/+2 and trample.
I don't know. I haven't played against Overrun.
Oh, well, Overrun is not in limited anymore because it's broken. And,
this is practically Overrun. It's easier to cast Overrun, right?
No, it's the same mana cost.
Yeah, so I think I don't know. So wait, no, didn't Overrun cost two green? Or am I just mistaken?
Oh, you know what? You're right. I think Overrun might be green. What? Sure.
So this card's gonna be insane. I'm gonna lose to this card so many times.
I think this card wins the game on the spot. I think it actually. Here's the thing: is this card does it all. It actually helps you when you're behind too, because like. You're like behind and then all of a sudden you win. It helps when you're ahead, it ends the game, and when you're parity, it ends the game. Like it just always ends.
Is this an A? Is Overrun always an A? I mean, Overrun, you have to be so green. This one you don't even have to be like mostly green. You can be like a little green. I think the mana cost is better than the +3/+3.
Like here's the thing: is like, what do you like? You have 4 creatures in play, right? This is giving +8/+8 for 5 mana and trample to all of them. Yeah. And like then your opponent has to set up blocks. And like what they block, right? And then they still take a bunch of damage. It's not Overrun, but it's still probably an A.
Yeah, this card is gonna die to it a lot. Like a lot. Imagine in green white, the exert guy that just makes a bunch of 1/1s. Oh. Oketra's Monument with Overcome.
Boom. Get there.
Yeah. Okay. Up next we have Quarry Beetle. So it's 4 and a green for a 4/5 insect. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. How do you get land cards into your graveyard?
Deserts sacrifice other deserts.
Oh my goodness, that's so horrible. That's so slow. Okay, it's a 5 mana 4/5, which is fine. I think, right?
It's
like,
whatever.
yeah, it's like a C minus.
I actually think this card's really bad in green specifically, and you're going to be pretty sad to play it.
This is just a D plus.
Yeah, you have to remember that there are cycling deserts, though.
Oh, cycling deserts are sick. Oh yeah, Wait, there's good. Is that the common or the uncommon one?
Those are the commons.
Ooh, that is better. That is better.
But it ramps you from 5 to 7.
To play the greatest sandworm.
Is that why? This card's fine. It's like
We can actually cast our next card that we're gonna review.
I think it's like a C minus D plus.
Yeah, I'll give it C minus because there's a common cycle that goes with it.
Okay, what's up next?
Next up is what we're gonna cast with the 5 to 7 curve. So it's Sifter Worm. It is 5 green for a 7/7 trample. And when it enters the battlefield, you scry 3, and then you reveal the top card of your library, and you gain life equal to that card's converted mana cost.
All right, so this is going to gain you like probably 4 life on average.
Yeah,
so it's
and
like a
you
7.
get to scry lands to the bottom. Like scry 3,
Yeah.
I think is a huge deal too.
This kind is like a bad Palaka worm, which is still really, really good.
Yeah.
Having this card in the set makes me actually wonder if this set's a little bit slower than I think it's going to be.
There's so many ways to gain incidental life in this set.
And if it is slower than I think it's going to be, then this card's going to be like really good.
Yeah, I think this card's going to be sweet. Like having your big green dummy scry 3 to try to find you another big green dummy is like so sweet. That is exactly what I want my guy to
putting
do.
the cards on the bottom is basically like drawing the card with Palaka Worm.
Yeah,
I think this card is. I think it's
going to be like a B. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. B minus. Like 7 drops, you definitely have to. There's like a very large deck building cost. You have to set yourself up well to be able to cast 7 drops.
You draw half the lands in your deck.
Yeah, that's a lot of lands. But if you get there, it's really, really powerful. So,
what's up next?
We have Tenacious Hunter. So it's 2 green for a 4/4 crocodile. As long as a creature has a -1/-1 counter on it, so any, yours or your opponent's, it has vigilance and death touch.
What is with these 4-mana crocodiles?
Yeah.
Last set, the 4-mana crocodile was great. This set, the 4-mana crocodile. Like this card, I would just play a 4/4/4. That would just happen. I would just do that. And now
vigilance is really good, actually. I think vigilance is a really unique. It plays out really interesting, and sometimes vigilance doesn't matter at all, but sometimes it's so great.
If you told me that I was just getting a 4-mana 4/4, I would actually just give the card. Like I would actually just give it a B minus.
No, a 4-mana 4/4 is a C plus. I think. Like it's good, but it's not like unheard of anymore. I don't think.
Okay. I think this card. I think that this card is a B minus.
Yeah, this card's a B minus. I think the vigilance, death touch is kind of weird. That doesn't come up too often.
I like that it's as long as a creature, right? So like you can put like the -1/-1 counters on your own creatures, like through all the cards in the other set. I think this card is just good. Next up, we have Bloodwater Entity. This card is 1, a blue, and a red for a 2/2 as flying and prowess. And when it enters the battlefield, you may put target instant or sorcery from your graveyard on top of your library. So you get to get one of your removal spellbacks, and you get a Windrake with prowess. I think this card's actually underrated. I've heard a lot of people talking about this card, and they're like, "Oh, it's not that good. Like, it's a 3-mana. It's just like a Windrake." And it's like, but like, I would play Windrake, and this card's better than that.
Yeah, I like this card. I mean, sometimes the multicolored cards are like bombs, and I don't know if this is on that level, but I think it's solid. It's like I think it's a B minus. I think it's good, right? Like, I was gonna give it a C plus. So yeah, I guess for like to take into account the double color, you'd probably give it a C plus, but like I think it's really strong.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that like getting one of the better cards in your graveyard back on top of your deck so you're guaranteed to draw a spell that guarantees it to be a 3-power creature next turn. Like,
And
it's just all upside.
It triggers nicely.
Yep. What's up next?
Next up, we have Obelisk Spider. So it's 1 black-green for a 1/4 spider that has reach. And when it deals combat damage to a creature, you put a -1/-1 counter on that creature. And whenever you put one or more -1/-1 counters on a creature, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life.
What?
This card is black-green going to be like really... It's like a really defensive card. 3 mana.
They can't even attack into this.
No, like this card seems really good, but it's definitely like it like holds up everything, right? Like how many attackers?
So like,
let's be clear.
Let's be clear about something that this card does. This actually just holds back 2 toughness creatures. They actually can't attack with them because it blocks it, and then it gets a 1/1 counter.
Yeah, and if they just if they attack with 2 creatures, like 2/2/2s, they can't do that.
They can't do that. They just actually can't do that.
Yeah, you only take 1 damage, and then one of their creatures gets weaker forever. Yeah.
No, it dies.
Oh, it does die. Yeah, it just dies. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it just dies.
This card's actually crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't attack at all. Like,
why?
I mean, it can technically attack, but
just
it
ping,
doesn't.
Ping. I
just deal 1. But once you play it, they have to kill it, or like all of their offenses shut down.
Just shut down. I think this card is like a B-B. Like it's somewhere in that range.
Yeah, this card holds.
I would snap this
off. Things. Yeah, it's sweet. It's really sweet.
I'm gonna give it a B. I think it's actually.
Yeah, I'll give it a B. I think it sets up black green really well because black green in general is like the type of color that wants to cast 7 drops too, and I think this is like the perfect card that will just like guarantee that you don't die very quickly. You just can't die very quickly. Cool. Next up, we have Resolute Survivors, which is 1 red/white for a 3/3 human warrior. You may exert it as it attacks, and then whenever you exert a creature, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. So 3 mana 3/3s are sweet, and then it has the whenever you exert anything ability, so it doubles up, and you get to ping them. So it kind of has like a Hell Rider effect. If you for each creature that exerts.
I think this card's pretty good. I think it's not as good as the spider.
No, I think it's solid. Like if you're in red white, you're gonna be very happy, but I don't think you're.
Well, like if you get like the right stuff in pack 3, this card does better than Hellrider impressions. Because you also gain the life, right?
Yeah, you gain life, true.
So like usually like so if there's anything we learned from the last set, it's like when you're exerting those creatures, they typically can't block anyway. So now like they can't block and they can't attack back because it's like
you're trying to get yourself out of the retaliation range. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's probably like C+.
I was gonna say I'd give this card a C+, B-.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like it. I don't think it's as high impact as the Obelisk Spider.
No, the Obelisk Spider I actually think we might be underrating.
Yeah, I think it's like pretty insane.
We have River. Is it Hoopy?
It's Hoopo-ee. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a blue and a green for a 1/3. It's a creature bird. It has flying. And Danny, it says you can pay 3, a green and a blue to gain 2 life and draw a card.
Woo! This card's sick. 1/3 flyers for 2 mana are actually great. They're so good.
I've always been impressed with them in the last few sets. Like they hold up the ground really well. Like they're like nice 2/1 dum, and then
they chip in pretty well.
Yeah, they chip in. They hold enchantments really nicely.
Yeah. Is this set going to be the return of mana sinks? I feel like we've been longing for mana sinks for so long, and we're finally getting them, right? Like there's quite a few solid mana sinks in this set. Like really high payoff things to spend your extra mana on. So
yeah, I like this card a lot. I actually might like it too much because I like want to give it like a B, and I'm sure it's not that good.
No, I think it's a B minus. Like, it's still a 1/3. That's really, really slow.
That's
But it's
really
sweet.
great.
It's really great, but it's quite slow.
Yeah, 5 mana is a lot to draw a card,
That is a
but
lot.
it's not like I haven't played like what does Azure Mage draw for?
2 mana for a 2/1.
It's 4 mana. It's 4 mana.
It's 4 mana draw card, yeah.
Yeah, this card's great. This card's just great. Just great. Drawing 2 worth the gaining 2 worth the extra mana. Hashtag doing it. Hashtag
And the
doing
other
it.
color. Okay.
What are you talking about? I wanted to be green blue anyway.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have Unraveling Mummy. It is 1 white-black for a 2/3 zombie, and you can pay 1 and a white to give target attacking zombie lifelink, or 1 and a black to give an attacking zombie death touch.
Okay, so
I just realized this said attacking. I don't know. I got greedy and just wanted it to just be all.
Well, it just makes target.
Yeah.
It just makes target attacking zombie unblockable, right? For 2 mana.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Your festering zombie can get, or festering mummy can get in there for sure. No one's gonna block it.
I think the card's fine. Like, I think it's actually the worst of the cycle. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Of all the uncommons.
Yeah, why is it a 2/3? Like, why is it so dorky and like dirtily? Like,
Yeah,
it's like
it's pretty slow.
And it's like kind of a slow menacing for like this deck that you and it's like they have to be attacking and like now I'm playing this 2/3 in this deck that has all these creatures that want to be. I think this card is actually not that great.
Yeah, I think it's like a C.
I think it's like a C. I mean, I guess in a zombies deck it's good. Like I'd play it, but like
you don't want to spend your mana on this. I don't know.
I'm unhappy. I'm gonna give this a C minus. But also, I have my white-black bias. Like, I don't like white-black decks, so...
Yeah. Yeah, it might be better, but I don't like it very much.
What's up next?
Cool. Next up, we have Farm Market. So the Aftermath cards. So it's 2 and a white for an instant that destroys target attacking or blocking creature. And then the Market is a sorcery, and it has Aftermath, and it's draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards for 3 mana. 2 and a blue. The front half of this card is pretty sweet. I think destroy target attacking or blocking creature is a lot better than
I've played Smite before.
Yeah.
Or Divine Verdict. What is it called? Yeah, Divine Verdict, right? The 4 mana one that does the same thing as the front half of this. I've played many Divine Verdicts.
Yeah, this card's kind of sweet.
I actually don't believe Blue-White will literally ever get this card. Because
white will take it, yeah.
Just whoever is drafting white is just going to take this card.
Yeah, this is just a white card. It's just a white card. And if you're blue, then sure, whatever. You can draw 2, discard 2. But
yeah, I don't know why you'd want to do that though.
I mean, it's not bad.
Oh, I guess you're actually not paying the card, so you're actually not down a card.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It makes it a lot better.
Okay, that makes sense. Sure.
But this is just a white card.
If you're blue, you have a little bit of upside. I think this card is actually just insane. I think this card is actually just like a B.
Yeah, maybe it's a B minus. I mean, when you're playing against really good players, they'll play around this card a lot better, especially after you show it to them. But it's still great. Like, they can't play around it forever. It's good.
What's up next?
Next up, we have Consign and Oblivion. So it's 1 and a blue for an instant. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. And then Aftermath is Oblivion. It's a sorcery. And it's 4 and a black for target opponent discards 2 cards.
I love this card. I love it for multiple.
Really? Okay,
yes. One, I believe it's constructor playable. Because Disperse with upside is just always constructor playable.
Yeah, Disperse was kind of sweet, actually.
Yeah, so this one is actually just Disperse, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
And then you get a Mind Rot. So, like, there are so many situations, like, and the thing is you get, like, when you're top decking in a top decking war, this is just 7 mana kill whatever they have, right? But it's often going to be better than that. It can be late in the game, Danny. 7 mana split up between 2 turns. Kill their best creature, they discard the other best card in their hand. Because, like, they only have 1 card left. That's, like, this expensive card that's left over.
Yeah, and you like in step, bounce your guy, untap, make you discard your last 2 cards, one of which was your
Yes.
good creature. Yeah,
I
that
like this
is
card.
interesting.
I actually like this card a lot. I actually would give this card like, I'm gonna give it a C. I actually think this card is just good.
Yeah, I mean, people liked Wind's Rebuke a lot, right? And
Yeah.
this is that with a bunch of upside.
Yep.
Yeah, that seems really good. I like that grade. I like C.
Next up is Claim to Fame, the card that everybody won't shut up about in Modern. It's 1 black for a sorcery. Return target creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's Aftermath. Sorry, that's right. It's just black. Fame is 1 and a red for Aftermath. Target creature gets +2/+0 and haste until end of turn.
In limited, this card's not good.
I wouldn't play this card in limited.
No, it's
way too situational.
It's really bad. So I think this is like a F in limited.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we have Struggle to Survive. This is Danny's real life, guys. It's 2 and a red. It's an instant. Struggle deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands you control. That card's historically very good.
Mm-hmm.
This one's also just never going to get into the green-red deck.
No, this is another red card.
All right, and then its Aftermath is 1 and a green. Each player shuffles his graveyard into his or her library. What? What? Why does this matter?
This is Struggle.
Yeah, this is Struggle. It's not going to struggle. It's going to be a B.
Yeah, is it Ground Assault that did the same thing but for 2 mana?
Yeah.
Yeah, that card's always good.
Ground Assault's a sorcery.
Oh yeah, this is an instant. Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, this is a B. It's like really good.
This is like late game kill your best creature for 3 mana. Like it's just red Doomblade or red Murder.
No, this is like a B+. This card's great.
It might just be that.
Yeah. It's really, really good. Cool. Next up, we have Appeal. It's green for a sorcery. Until end of turn, target creature gains trample and gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures you control. Okay, and then it has Aftermath called Authority, which is a sorcery, 1 and a white. Tap up to 2 target creatures your opponents control. Creatures you control gain vigilance until end of turn.
So I do think this is actually specifically a 3 mana green-white card.
Yeah, that's really good, actually, though.
So you have to be green-white, which I think brings this down. I think that like you'll give 1 creature +3/+3, tap 2 of your opponent's creatures, and give yours vigilance, which is like a pretty okay 3 mana sorcery. But like I said, it's okay. I think it's like a C- though.
How similar is this to Trial of Solidarity? Besides like the bouncing part. So you give one thing. So like if you have a big board, right?
Right, but like they're just gonna block that thing, take 4, and then
no. But you tap 2 of their guys.
Right. So like when I say they take 4, like they take the stuff from you don't like they're just gonna block the thing that you pump, right?
But that thing gets trample.
Oh, well that's different. That makes this better. Maybe it's a C then. Maybe it's not a C.
Yeah, like you put this on your Hooded Brawler, and then you tap 2 of their blockers and give all of your exert creatures vigilance, and then exert everything.
That actually seems really good.
Like I feel like it seems really similar to Trial of Solidarity. Maybe it's not, but
okay.
Seems like
I'll give this card a C. I'll go up.
Yeah, I think it's a C. I think it can be like a very powerful win the game effect.
I can believe that.
All right, tilting my head to read all the Aftermath cards. Next up, what's up?
Next up, we have Crook of the Condemnation. It's 2 for an artifact. You can pay 1 and tap it to exile a card from a graveyard, or you can pay 1 to exile all cards from all graveyards. Why doesn't it draw a card when you do that?
Yeah, I know. I was just like, wait. Oh, this is so good. It's so good. Oh, wait. It doesn't draw a card. Never mind. Unplayable.
I actually wouldn't play this card. I don't even think I would sideboard it.
Is it standard playable?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think so. But you don't have anything else. If you actually need to like interact with the graveyard, this is probably the thing you're going to use.
It's kind of true.
Like it's not like you like Tormod's Crypt was playable. It's like
yeah, it's fine.
Dagger of the Worthy is 2 mana for an artifact equipment. You can equip target creature. And when you do, it gets +2/+0 and has afflict 1, and it equips for 2.
I don't think so. No. Equipment are always hard to judge for me, but I don't think this is good. I think it's bad.
So, like, I really liked Throwing Knife, but this is not a throwing knife.
Throwing Knife had the sick wording where you never got owned. Like, you got to target, and then they had to decide if they wanted to save their guy, and then if they didn't, you got to use it, and if they did, you just don't use it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
But also, this isn't close to a Throwing Knife. I think this card will end up in some decks. I think it's like a D-, and you'll play it sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's a D-.
So it is just 4 mana plus 4+2/0, and
that's like really bad. It's really expensive.
if it gave toughness, though, it would be pretty good.
Yeah, it's only good if you're kind of putting it on like a 1/1 vigilance. That's
Or
like the
if you're putting it on like a 1/3 that with afflict. Wait,
yeah.
if
you can
I
put this on
this
flyers.
Time out. If I put this on a card that already has afflict, what happens?
Yeah, you can have multiple. Yeah, you can have multiple instances of afflict for sure.
So they lose 1 and lose 2 separately?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's a D- though. I don't think it's good.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Okay.
All right, we have Sunset Pyramid, which is 2 mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put 3 brick counters on it. You can pay 2 and tap it to remove a brick counter to draw a card, or you can just pay 2 and tap it to scry one. So it's 2 mana, and then you can just pay 2 3 times to draw. Yeah, I would play this card.
So, like, you think it's good?
I would definitely play this card.
Interesting.
How many cards do I need to draw before like I'm okay being done with the card?
So you're paying 8 mana over like 1 million installments to draw 3 cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's fine. It's really slow. So how good? Like, I think this is worse than Oracle's Vault, right? Or is Oracle's Vault better?
I think this is better than
Sure.
Oracle's Vault.
Yeah,
I think so.
just because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in general, the way that these cards play
Snap
out,
this
though,
off so fast and sealed that it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So
and then
I
in
think
draft, I think in the right deck, I get to play this early and then just pick when to draw cards.
no, but so the problem is that, like, in general with these types of cards, they're not really powerful if you play them early. You want to kind of play out your whole hand, then play them, then use them, right?
But I don't have to do that, is what I'm saying. It's not that like Jade Totem is like the full, like 4 to draw card. Like that card's bad.
Jade Tome.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
This card is thank you, by the way. This card is like 2 mana, tap it, draw a card, and like that's just not that big of a deal. I actually like
you can still impact
you
the board.
You can still do things.
Yeah.
I think
it might be actually good. Yeah.
Yeah. All that being said, like C-. Like it only goes in like maybe D+. Actually, I'm gonna go with D+. It only goes in like slow grindy decks that can afford to play it, but you'll play it probably all the time in sealed.
Yeah. I think I'll go with maybe it's a C-. I'll give it a C-. You've talked me above you.
I've talked you above where I was.
Yeah, I like it.
Crypt of the Eternals is next. When it enters the battlefield, you gain a life. It taps for colorless, and then it can filter 1 and it. So you can pay 1 mana and tap it to get a red, a black, or a blue.
It's weird that this isn't a cycle. It's just a Grixis land. So
I don't
weird.
think it's just an F.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Why isn't it a desert?
Yeah, why isn't it a desert? Yeah, get that out of my face.
Yeah, if it was a desert,
no,
I might actually play it. All right, give it an F.
Okay, Dunes of the Dead is a desert, thank goodness, and it taps for colorless, and then when it is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Oh, combinations. You can sacrifice it, and then you get it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so this combines with the other deserts in the set that want you to sacrifice a desert to do things. Mm-hmm. Let's just kind of go over them, and we can go over them one at a time. So this is only playable with the other ones, and I don't even know that it's that great. Like,
colorless lands are a huge cost in limited, like a really big one.
So you really want
And-
cards that have Desert Matters in order for this to be playable.
Yeah.
Hashep Oasis, I think is how you say it? Hashep. It's land. It taps for a color, so you can pay 1 life and it taps for green when you tap it. Or you can green 1. You can sacrifice a desert, and target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. You can only activate this ability anytime you can cast a sorcery. This one's okay. I think that +3/+3 is like a lot.
Sorcery speed is definitely way worse, but
it is way worse. I don't know. Like, I don't think that any of these, to be honest with you, other than the black one, are like that impressive. You're going to play them probably all of the time on color if you have another desert, right?
Yeah. I think the red one might be decent, just because red is pretty aggro, so you don't mind the life, and then you would like to deal random damage.
So the black one is black 2. You tap it, sacrifice another desert, or sacrifice a desert, and you put 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature.
That one's sweet, actually.
That one's like really good. That one's like
that
a
one's
C+.
probably the best. Yeah, that one's probably the best.
Like you will draft off-color deserts to make that one more playable. The red one, Rune Map Ruins, is you can pay. It's red, and then it's red 2. You sacrifice a desert, and it deals 2 damage to each opponent. I don't know.
Can I build a 4 Sun Scorched Deserts for Rune Map Ruins deck? Do I have permission to do that?
What?
Sun Scorched Desert, the desert from the last set that when it enters, it deals 1 damage to the opponent.
Oh sure, you do you, man.
Yeah, just kill him with my lands.
Get him coming and going. And then, the white one is 2 white, sacrifice desert, and creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. That one's okay too.
Also sorcery speed.
We also skipped the blue one because it's unplayable because it mills them for 4.
It can mill you also.
Oh, okay. I think that these are fine. You're going to play them. The black one's actively good.
Yeah, the black one seems really good. The red one could be reasonable if you're really aggro. Really, really aggro.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And is that it? Are we done?
We are done.
Man, it is late.
It is late. I was feeling it. Work early in the morning, but it was fun. I feel like I learned a lot from doing this. So
it has been fun. Thank you so much to our sponsors at Game Grid and at the Mana Base.
Correct. You got it.
How did I get sponsors?
I don't.
2 weeks in a row.
Twice, right? It wasn't the same sponsor.
No, it was the other one last time. But both of those are amazing sponsors. We really appreciate them, and it means the world to us that they take the time to do that. That they take their time to communicate with us and set this up, and pay us to talk about Magic. It's really fun, and we really enjoy it. And we wouldn't be able to do this without them. So thank you so much to both of them. It really does mean the world to us. You can support the podcast directly by going to patreon.com/ccmtg. Become a patron of our network. It is very possible that there will be a 3rd podcast on the Constructive Criticism Network very soon. So stay tuned for that. Also, Limited Time Only is getting its own feed on iTunes. So now you can subscribe directly to Limited Time Only. It is a podcast about getting better at Magic the Gathering with an emphasis on limited play. And we're excited to bring it to you every week. Danny and I are pretty set on doing this. I don't think I'm going to lose another co-host anytime soon. So here's hoping that we get to 100, and we'll see you guys next week with our common set review, where we talk about the top 3 cards in each color. Danny, thank you so much, and we'll see everybody next week.
It's great. Have a good night. See ya.